would you consider wearing a piece?
Another case of television blues.
This guy's got it real bad.
Do you think he's gonna make it?
There may be trouble.
I think we're losing him.
Only one team of lifesavers can help him now.
This is a case for the docs on the box.
Dr. Kildare!
Yes. Hawkeye?
Yeah. How's he doing?
I take you for a sick man.
We've got to get this BP up.
I'm asking you to live.
92/60.
Speeding on a cylinder. Bingo!
You did it!
For the ultimate cure for television blues, spend an entire evening with TV's finest medics. Docs on the box. Sunday at 8 on BBC Two.
Before the fiddlers have fled.
A summary of the news now on BBC One with Moira Stuart.
Good morning. Telephone bills for BT's residential and small business users should fall from next year, provided inflation stays low. The regulator, Oftel, is capping charges at 4.5% below inflation, which should mean price cuts in real terms. It's the first time Oftel has singled out BT's domestic users for preferential treatment over its bigger customers.
The new cap, the amount by which BT can raise its prices, is lower than the current one and will apply only to residential and small business subscribers who make mostly local calls. In the past, these low to medium users have not done as well under the price controls as subscribers who make many national and international calls. For large businesses, Oftel has decided competition is working, so for them, price controls go altogether. BT says the package of new measures is tough.
The customers in the UK are still getting a very good deal, say amongst the lowest prices and the best service in the world, and this price cap still keeps the industry, I think, under severe constraints.
With competitors like the cable TV companies making inroads into BT's customer base, these new controls are expected to be the last. When they run out in 2001, Oftel believes a fully competitive market will be in place, and that will keep prices down.
The regulator of the privatised water industry, Ofwat, has forced Yorkshire Water to freeze its prices to customers for 2 years for failing to deliver an adequate service. After a special investigation into the company, Ofwat concluded that Yorkshire Water had not done enough to control leaks and minimise interruptions to supplies. As a result, Ofwat will no longer allow the company to increase its bills above the rate of inflation. Britain is to block European Union agreements on fraud, drugs and racism this morning in the effort to force its EU partners to lift the beef ban. At a special meeting of European agriculture ministers in Luxembourg this afternoon, Douglas Hogg will present a full outline of Britain's latest plans for eradicating BSE. Mr. Hogg says he hopes this will persuade them to lift the ban.
As a confirmed pro-European, the Chancellor Kenneth Clarke was clearly embarrassed as he arrived for talks in Luxembourg. He didn't elaborate on Britain's non-cooperation tactics. Suffice to say, he would be towing the line.
We're following the policy of my council.
Mr. Clarke's expected to use the veto on 3 European Union agreements amid accusations of hypocrisy, especially as Britain's stand will have the effect of slowing down anti-fraud measures. With mountains of paperwork prepared for this council meeting, there's anger too that other important proposals will suffer in the campaign to remove the beef ban. But Douglas Hogg, the Agriculture Minister, said he'd be presenting a full programme to eradicate BSE. He and other ministers would also be taking their campaign across Europe.
The Foreign Secretary and I will be going around European capitals after this meeting of the Council, presenting the framework and seeing if we can get agreement to the concept of a progressive step-by-step relaxation. We'll be doing that over the next few days.
There is, however, real hope of a partial lifting of the ban within the next few days, affecting derivatives such as gelatin. But tomorrow the Home Secretary steps into the fray. He'll use the veto on a European policing agreement.
We want to concentrate the minds of the other governments of Europe. We want them to understand that it's very important that they take the beef problem seriously and negotiate with us in good faith for its speedy resolution.
After 2 failed attempts to have the beef ban lifted, the government is convinced it will eventually win this battle, whatever the political fallout.
Today sees the start of a month-long firearms amnesty announced after the Dunblane shootings. Owners of unlicensed guns are being urged to hand in their weapons at any police station. The amnesty gives owners immunity from prosecution, providing the guns they hand in haven't been used in a crime. The Chief Inspector of Schools in England, Chris Woodhead, has renewed his attack on so-called progressive teaching methods. In an interview for tonight's Panorama programme on BBC One, Mr Woodhead says the methods devised in the 1960s, which emphasised self-discovery, need to be replaced with more traditional full-class teaching.
Mr Woodhead has been conducting a vigorous campaign against low standards and poor teaching. And this latest attack was prompted by a report to be published shortly by the Inspectorate on international standards in mathematics. It's expected to show that British 11-year-olds are often up to 2 years behind pupils in Pacific Rim countries like Taiwan. Mr Woodhead blames progressive teaching methods, which encourage pupils to learn in groups and to go at their own pace. He says ideas introduced in the 1960s should be abandoned. Specifically, he urges more whole-class teaching, where the teacher stands at the front and instructs all pupils together.
The overall balance between whole-class teaching and individual teaching in our primary schools across the country, I think, should move towards a 50-50 split if you look at the curriculum as a whole.
That even after a number of These comments come just days after the Labour spokesman David Blunkett told head teachers that it's time to return to more traditional teaching methods. However, most teachers argue that they already use a wide variety of teaching methods and that as professionals they should be left to judge for themselves which are the most appropriate. Mike Baker, BBC News.
4 Israeli phone company workers have been injured by a bomb in a West Bank village. The men were mending lines in an olive grove when the device went off. It's the first reported attack on Israelis inside the West Bank since the Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu was elected Prime Minister last week. That's it. More news at midday.
Good morning from Newsroom South East. Transport police are to launch a major crackdown on touts who sell used travel cards on the tube. The illegal trade costs London Underground £1 million a year. Persistent offenders will now face stiffer sentences and could be banned from the network.
These touts, filmed secretly at Victoria Station, are estimated to make up to £13,000 a year by collecting reusable travel cards, then persuading other passengers to buy them at a cheaper price. Underground managers say they've been inundated with complaints from tube users who've been harassed or conned into giving up their tickets.
It's very bad. There are a number of stations on the Underground which are particularly suitable. Victoria's for touts, that is. Victoria is one of them because we have a large concentration of tourists and day trippers who all buy one-day travel cards.
The police are now planning a campaign of arrests, and London Underground says from now on it will ban persistent offenders from the entire network.
Business leaders meet later this week to try to save Greenwich's chance of hosting the Millennium celebrations. The exhibition is planned to take place on the site of a former gasworks, but there are fears the project will collapse because of lack of sponsorship. Police say a fire at a girls' school in North London was started deliberately. First-year pupils at Copthall School in Mill Hill have been told to stay at home today after the blaze destroyed much of the English block. Pupils returning to Copthall School in North London this morning will find their English department in ruins. A fire in the early hours of Sunday morning swept through the mainly wooden structure, destroying over 40% of the block. Despite the loss of their classrooms, teachers said the school will be open as usual.
We were in the process anyway of moving from being a two-site school to a single-site school. So although we might have to have some temporary accommodation for a little while, this building was intended to house the whole school.
Papers for today's GCSEs were rescued from the building just before the flames reached them, and all exams will take place as planned. Thousands of shop workers in the region may learn today whether they've lost their jobs. It follows the collapse of the retail group Fascia. Hundreds of high street shops are threatened with closure, among them the luggage store Salisbury and the Oakland Menswear Group. That's it from us for now. We're back just after 12 o'clock. Right now we'll leave you with the weather.
Good morning to you. Some very much warmer weather on the way, I think, to most parts of the country. In fact, by the middle and latter part of the week, we'll even be able to call it hot, at least in the southeastern corner of the country. But no English summer, of course, is complete without one or two thunderstorms, and I'm sure we'll have those as well. Now, at the moment, there's quite an area of cloud moving in from the west, although skies are still clear. Lovely blue skies and sunshine in central and eastern parts of England, although that probably won't last. The rain in the west as well, some of it's quite heavy, and we are going to find during the rest of the day that that area of cloud with outbreaks of rain will continue to work its way eastwards, getting to the rest of Scotland, eventually into central parts of England. But I think come this afternoon, the rain will be fizzling out. It's going to become quite light and patchy, which means to say that although it'll probably cloud over in East Anglia and the southeast, those areas will probably stay mostly dry. At the same time, during the afternoon, brighter weather coming into Northern Ireland, later on still into western parts of Scotland. Quite windy, though, in those western areas, and with the cloud and the rain, it'll be on the cool side, whereas with the bright sunshine in central and eastern areas, at least for a while, it's going to turn out to be quite warm, up to 19 or 20 degrees. Feeling a little bit cooler, though, as it clouds over this afternoon. And then during this evening and tonight, the last of those outbreaks of lightish rain moving away, a little bit of drizzle left in the southwest and some showers in the north, and a pretty mild night just about everywhere. That's all from me for now.
This week on Watchdog Health Check, mobile phones, should they carry a health warning? Meningitis in Mallorca, is it safe to travel? And the future for footballer Dave Boost, the horrific injury which threatens his career. That's Watchdog Health Check, tonight, 7:30 on BBC One.
Have you ever considered a career in parenting? No experience necessary.
Likes to butt things with his head.
Hands-on training will be provided, and a sense of humour is essential. Prospective candidates should apply to Parenthood, Friday, 10:25 on BBC One.
Returning to our morning film now on BBC One, Doctor in Clover.